back with our summer spotlight. My name is Ed Dick, alongside our co-hosts, Technical Director Rob Troutman, AVP of Social Media Content and Graphic Design Intern Josh Jeffy, Dr. Hoops himself, Noah Jacobson, and my cohort, colleague, compadre Sean Duffy is out on assignment. You are watching us live on our YouTube channel, Sports on Tap, at SOT Podcast, where this and all past broadcasts are and will be archived. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications on all future broadcasts. Also, follow us on Twitter at SOT Podcast. Also on Facebook at Sports on Tap. And this new thing I just found out about literally last week called Threads at SOT Podcast. He's not the EVP of social media content for nothing. He told me about that one. So,
you're welcome.
Good effort. Also, check out our website, sportsontappodcast.com, for information about the show, and reach out directly to us at sportsontappodcast@gmail.com for questions, comments, feedback, and the like. Very quick run through our sponsors: Ray Felton State Farm Insurance, RRT Productions, and GB Art and Design. We'll talk a little bit more about each of our sponsors here as we move on. We are luckily very happy to be joined. He's getting up there. I'll just call him friend to show status because I've known him for quite a long time. Had the privilege of not only playing football with him, but also coaching with him a little bit at Brunswick. We are talking with the coach of the defending Suburban League American Division champions, 9th season head coach for the Highland Hornets, Coach Mike Gibbons. Coach, thanks for coming on today. How you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it. Thank you guys for all that you do for Ohio high school football. You guys are awesome, and you do a great job.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate that. We were talking a little bit about before we went live. I mean, there really is no rest for the weary. Coming off a a championship season from the conference standpoint, and you got the youth camp going on. Talk a little bit about what's going on for you for the summer as you're preparing for two-a-days.
Yeah, it's a busy summer. Got a lot of stuff going on. We had our middle school camp last week. This week we have our youth camp. Next week we have our second big mini camp for the high school kids. So that is going to go all week long. And then that kind of rolls right into the start of the season. So gave the kids the week off, the 4th of July week. And that was really the 1 week they got off all summer, and kind of been rolling busy, but it's, kind of business as usual. And kids are having a great off season. I'm proud of the work that they're putting in, and hopefully it shows this upcoming season.
Yeah, Coach. So let's before we move on to this upcoming season, we like to rehash a little bit. I know coaches don't like to do that; they always like to look forward. But looking back, last year you guys had a very successful season, with the exception of that final game you had against Central Catholic. But when you had probably an all around one of the better teams, if not one of the best teams in our area last year, offensively and defensively. And I actually wanted to talk about your defense, because you had, let me see here, I'm looking at the scores. You had 5 shutouts last year. And for the way that the football games are nowadays and the way the game is going, offense is prevalent. And just talk about how your defensive performance last year just really led your team to a very successful season.
Well, no doubt about it. It was a special year. I think through 10 games, they gave up 43 points. I think in our league last year, they gave up 17 points, and I think only 10 of them was the actual starters through league play. So, anytime you can put up stats like that is very, very impressive. And like you mentioned, in this day and age where, offenses are very potent, explosive, and they go at a fast tempo, to have a defense that plays at that level certainly helped. And I think, the defense helped set up the offense, and the offense kind of got rolling as the season went on, and we were able to have a really good year. But, it was definitely a special defense. I'm hoping that even though we lose 9 starters from that defense, the kids that saw it and witnessed it, and then even got into those games in certain roles, kind of feed off of that. We can kind of keep this thing rolling. Obviously that's going to be tough to beat what we were able to do last year defensively. But again, credit to those guys. I mean, we had a number of kids that just were phenomenal players and had a lot of games under their belt too. And that always helps when, I think we had 5 of those kids started as sophomores in 2020. And then we went 11-2 their junior year. So they got, 13 games there and then 13 games again last year. So it was a lot of plays for them.
And just to kind of add that, there was some games last year where you scored in the 60s. You had a 70-point game once. You mentioned about some of those younger kids getting in. When you have a dominant defense and a potent offense like that, and the score gets a little out of hand, were you able to get some of those young kids in and get them some valuable varsity time that'll hopefully pay dividends this year when you go into these games in 2023?
Yeah, no question. I mean, a lot of those kids got, meaningful time. You look at even our quarterback, one of them that's competing for the job right now, Peyton Janikis, you say, well, maybe he didn't start last year, but he played a lot of plays. He got in a lot of key moments there. And, but you go down the list of all the positions and guys were getting reps on Friday nights, which are huge. And again, to get, 13 games the last 2 years, you look at those kids that are going to be seniors now and you say, okay, you've had 6 extra weeks on top of your regular season, and the juniors, going on the line with all the extra practices and games that these kids have gotten. You hope that that's going to, again, help you out for this upcoming season.
Coach, thank you again for taking the time and joining us tonight. Obviously, Andrew Lurks graduates at quarterback, but you guys got Peyton Janikis coming in. Just kind of talk about what he's going to bring to your guys' offense this year, and just kind of talk to me about how much he learned from Andrew last year.
Yeah, you know what? I know our quarterbacks, they had a special kind of bond last year, and they all kind of looked after each other, and Andrew did a great job last year as a senior. And, Andrew, to go back real quick, I know Andrew's graduated and everything like that, but Andrew suffered 2 torn ACLs throughout his playing career at Highland, and then played the entire season with a dislocated shoulder, and that had gone on the whole year. So he would, dislocate his shoulder throughout, certain games, and Peyton would come in and he'd have his back. And I guess when you see that and there's a special bond that forms from just that type of adversity, and Andrew was such a good leader that, I think Peyton saw that. And Peyton's been around a couple of really good quarterbacks going back to his sophomore year when he saw Aaron, and then again last year with Andrew. So I know he's taken a lot of that in, and he's excited for this upcoming season. And we got a couple other really good quarterbacks behind him too. So I think anytime, your units believe in each other and have a special bond, I think special things can happen. And that's kind of what I see with our kids. I think every position group, whether it's the receivers, whether it's the offensive line, the quarterbacks, the running backs, whatever, they all kind of enjoy being around each other. And whoever's the starter is the starter, but the other kids really support them too. And not that they're not competing, but they definitely have each other's backs.
Yeah, I think it's been important. You had a lot of seniors last year, like you said, and you had a lot of young guys kind of seeing how they play the game. How important of an offseason is it for some of those young guys? Especially now, they're going to have to step it up this season, and having a good, solid year behind all those seniors and seeing the success you guys had. Because realistically, I mean, I was at a few playoff games. I was at a few regular season games with you guys, and you could definitely see how positive your team was, and even some of the younger guys, like Josh said, you scored a lot of points, so you got some younger kids in there, and you could tell that their confidence was really building, especially with the seniors that were helping teach them along as the season went on. How important is that for them to step up this offseason? What have you seen in camps or in their offseason workouts?
Yeah, I think that's kind of just the standard of the program right now, is the fact that I think it's in a good spot in terms of they know what it takes to be really good. Again, going back to the 2020 or 2021 season, they saw kids staying after practice, working really hard. They saw kids, picking each other up when things got tough. They saw great leadership, I guess is my point. So these seniors have kind of been through it with all these groups, and I believe they've kind of seen that and taken that, and they've had a phenomenal offseason. And I'm excited for a lot of these kids to see, to get the opportunity, I guess, to go play on Friday nights. Offensively, we return, 7 to 8 kids. Obviously, you lose Lucas Stiles at running back, and you lose, Andrew at quarterback. But we do return 3 to 4 offensive linemen, and then all of our receivers, tight ends are back, and got, other good players that have been waiting in the wings to get their opportunity. So And then defensively, obviously got to replace a little bit more. But the JV team was undefeated last year. The varsity team was undefeated. So I think the kids are confident. I would say it is maybe hungry, is they want to prove that, hey, we can do the same thing that the last couple classes have done as well. So I'm looking forward to, seeing them get out there and do it.
Well, and you've done it for a long time. I mean, every single year it seems like you guys retool and regroup, bringing up kids all over the place. And it really starts with your youth programs. I mean, you have a great system in place, and it starts with you. You're the leadership there, and you have some great coaches and some great guys there. Talk a little bit about the coaching, too, that, whether it's the youth programs and you keep developing these kids to fit in your system. Every year, everybody, when you see Highland, it's going to be a tough game.
Yeah, well, by all means, the youth program definitely sets the table out here. We always talk about we're a community program. We're, closed enrollment public school, but we do a phenomenal job developing our youth football players. My son's in the youth program right now, and I'm, very involved in that aspect of it. The coaches, the time commitment that these guys make is second to none. The parents are very involved. Whether it's the moms making signs for the youth players to run through, the dads all coach. When you go to a Highland youth practice field, the field's lined with just the parents, and the involvement's incredible. People are out there getting coached. The parents care about not only their child, but the other children as well. So it's a very close-knit community. And that's kind of a special thing. So they come up together, they start at a very young age, and they come up, and it's kind of sad, when you see them as seniors kind of go, and they've been together and they've been through it for so long that, it has to end at some point, but to see the longevity of what they're doing. So, our youth program's phenomenal. I'm so proud to be a part of that. And obviously it's a community effort. Those coaches down there do an amazing job. They, sacrifice so much time. And then, our middle school program. And then we're fortunate to have a really good high school staff that's been together now I'm going on my 9th year. And a lot of those guys have, been on the staff with me since I started. So I think that helps, is when you don't have that turnover and you have that consistency. So just a great program, a great community to be involved in, and a lot of support.
Talking with Medina Highland Hornets head coach Mike Gibbons. This is his 11th year coaching overall, including the 2 at Beechwood. Back earlier in his career. Let's talk about the upcoming season now. Every game's important. You have a tough schedule. You have largely the same schedule you had last year. The Suburban League's been one of the few leagues that it hasn't had a whole lot of turnover and changes over the last few years, unlike a lot of the other ones that we've seen. But it doesn't get much better of a first game than really a pseudo battle for Suburban League supremacy, with the National Division champions and Hudson coming to your side in the first week of the year. So talk a little about what the team's looking forward to there, and kind of what the schedule lays out for you.
Yeah, we're excited. We're excited to get this thing kicked off here soon. Like I said, I know you feel like you've been doing it for a while, but every season it's like a new year, right? So it's like, I don't know what's going to happen. Last year we were a certain type of team, and is that going to be the exact same this year? Probably not. So as a coach, you're trying to figure out, all right, how do we maximize what we have, right? And we got to figure that out. And that's why I guess you get excited every single year, or I'm sure I won't be able to sleep Sunday night because I'll be excited for Monday's practice. And you'd think that would wear off over time, but it really doesn't, because what happened in the past, whether it was good, whether it was bad. It's a fresh start for everybody. So we're excited about the challenges that we have this upcoming year. Obviously opening up with Hudson, there's so much respect for their program and what they do every single year. Great program, great coaches, great players. So we know we have our work cut out for us, and we're excited for the opportunity. It's going to be a huge Friday night game, week 1, like you mentioned, 2 10-0 teams from last year facing off against each other. So I just think, that's what high school football is all about. That's going to be, talk about a hot ticket. That's going to be a big one there, week 1. And what a great game to be a part of.
Go ahead, Josh.
Oh, I was just going to say, that with a matchup like that on week 1, and Coach, you've been there for 9 years now, and you've basically, continued to build the program to an excellent status of where it is now. I was curious as to the kind of community feedback and community involvement that you're now getting. Obviously winning brings out a lot of that, and the three of us played for Brunswick in the 90s, which that was the prime, and we saw how the community came together for that, and we've all been to some of the Highland regular season games and even some of the playoff games, and just the fan base you had. The band is crazy. Just talk about that community involvement that is now a part of Hornets football.
Yeah, it's it's awesome to see, and again, I'm blessed to be a part of it. Every Friday night we come out there and it's like, wow, this place is rocking. So it's, I think the whole community gets behind it, and Friday night there's nowhere else that people want to be than at the Highland Stadium. So credit to our community, to, our school, or even our student section is phenomenal, right? Our band's awesome. Kids really get fired up to go watch the Highland Hornets play on Friday nights, and our players love playing for that. Who wouldn't, right? And tell our players too a lot of times, like, hey, listen, the reason why these people come out and watch you is because of the way you play. If you weren't that good, maybe you wouldn't be the hottest ticket. But when you go out there and you do the things that you do when you play at a high level, people want to be a part of that, and that's what makes it special. And we have such a good community and so much support. So it's just
Uh-oh.
He froze up.
He was
on a roll.
He shocked himself.
We'll see.
That's here. Yeah, there you go. No, we got you back now.
Okay.
So as you were mentioning, the community support is massive, and Josh is right. I mean, when we were growing up in Brunswick in the 90s, when all the success they had,
right,
it really makes you want to play, and makes you want to enjoy that as well. Coach, you went to Lake Catholic, won a state championship there. Kind of part of the private school system from in your high school years. Have you seen any of your players venture off into the parochial schools, or have you been able to keep a lot of them in house?
Yeah, it's again, like, we do everything we can to try to keep our players. And again, I think the more and more we can get involved with our youth and our middle school programs, and even me just getting down there and talking to the middle school kids and building relationships, that at the end of the day, that's really what it's about, is, building relationships and showing them that, hey, you can, have the success that you want at Highland in front of the guys that you've grown up with your entire life, in front of, people that want to come out and support you. You don't have to leave to have the success. So, at the end of the day, people are free to choose and do whatever they want. And, we've lost a couple here and there. But I think that's part of the deal. Like, hey, if they go, God bless them. And I know that we have a ton of kids that will do anything they can to play for Highland, and it means a lot to them. And it's fun to coach them.
Coach, one of the things that really sticks out to me is that you're only 2 wins away from becoming the Highland Hornets' winningest coach in football program history. And you're only 2 wins away from passing your mentor, Tom Lombardo, who you played for at Lake Catholic back in 2000. Yeah. And he's had a great, successful career now at St. Ed's. Right. Just kind of talk about the feeling of what it would mean to become the all-time winningest coach, and just kind of talked about how Tom Lombardo made a big impact for you playing career, and how you became an assistant for him at Highland.
Yeah, so, going way back, so my dad was the head coach at Lake Catholic, and, through my freshman year at Lake. And then my dad left going into my sophomore year, and Tom became the head coach at Lake Catholic. So I played 3 years for him. So obviously, he's my brother-in-law, known him forever. And then, he always supported me whether it was, he was coaching me at Lake Catholic, and then when I was in college, and he would always be at the games and cheering me on, and then getting the opportunity to coach with him, and just a huge influence on my entire life, not only as a football coach, but as a man, and someone that I obviously think very highly of. And just a great man, and proud of the success that he's having. And obviously learned so much from him. So I could be here all day talking about, what he means to me, but yeah, it means a lot.
Well, Coach, all that stuff is really nice, but I really want to know, and I think the other guys do too. What's it like when you guys get together as a family? I mean, like, is there a lot of trash talking? I mean, now you're going to have this one up on them a little bit once you get your 2 wins. I mean, let's be real here. We could get down to business.
Yeah, it's a lot of football talk. So obviously my brother-in-law, Tom, and then my youngest brother. So I'm one of 9 kids. We're a huge family. So my youngest brother is a head coach at Lake Catholic. And then my oldest brother coaches at Lake Catholic. My dad still coaches at Lake Catholic. My one brother-in-law is assistant basketball coach at John Carroll. So there's a lot of just coaches and then you get into my nephews. I have nephews at Kirtland that are doing a phenomenal job. And then,
Wow.
Some that are Lake Catholic. So it's just total chaos. But we enjoy talking about football. We're obviously very passionate about it, and we all, love supporting each other and, pick each other's brains and try to make the best every season.
So do you guys play card games, with the families? No. I'd love to be part of that and be a fly on the wall when you guys are playing any kind of game versus each other.
Very competitive.
Yeah, I was going to say that would be an interesting one. Like, the loser.
The family volleyball games get a little crazy.
I can imagine.
People are limping off the court there, probably, huh?
Yeah.
We're talking with Medina Highland Hornets head coach Mike Gibbons. Coach, this is coming in your 9th year at Highland, as we mentioned earlier. 11th year overall. So you've been doing this for quite a while. What are some of the bigger lessons that you've learned over the years? From when you were a younger head coach at Beechwood, even your first years at Highland, that you've really picked up on as you're coming into your 9th year and 11th year overall?
I tell you what, I mean, you just learn so much year in and year out. You really do. I think the biggest thing I learned is, like, maybe as an assistant, you think, oh, I could do this and I can do that. And you think you have all the answers, and you really don't have any answers. And I think that's kind of what I learned was, okay, I was an assistant and I could do this, I could do that. And then when you actually become the head coach, it just happens through all these different scenarios that pop up or that you learn from. And, I'm sure I'll learn a lot this year too, that I'll take into next year. And it just continuously happens. I think that's part of the deal is you always want to continue to learn, though. That'd be my advice to any coach out there. And, whether it's going to clinics, whether it's asking coaches questions, whether it's just self-evaluating everything, every day, every practice, every game, anything, always trying to turn over every stone and figure out what you can maybe do a little bit better than you did the day before. So I just think there's so much that, you're trying to learn from year in and year out.
I think that's actually good lessons in life in general. That's what everyone should be doing every day.
Right.
But, going back to looking forward to 2023, who are some of the players that you're kind of looking to take maybe that next step to maybe take the reins as leadership role and to pick up, as where some of your playmakers may have left, graduated? Who are some of those players that you're looking to take that leap to the next step?
Yeah, I'll just start offensively, looking at our offensive line, having kids like Ben Fern, Brody Davis, Carson Noonan, a real good incoming junior. Those 3 guys started, last year. We had Logan Waddell also started and hurt his knee, and he's back, though, as a senior. So having 3 to 4 guys that started on the offensive line on a team that really ran the ball effectively last year is huge, right? And those guys have confidence and they can get the line. Plus, we have a lot of really good upcoming junior offensive linemen with good size. So there's a lot of competition up front, which is what you want to see. And then I think the offensive skill position is really where we return a lot. If you look at this team, so having a guy like Matt Syriac, who was an all-state receiver for us last year, he's 6'3", a 4.40 kid, a kid that can go get it. He's a special talent, just came out for track last year. Had never done it before, runs at 11 flat. And then I think, won the Suburban League in the 100, won it in the long jump. So just a tremendous talent there. Johnny Silico back as a slot receiver is awesome. So fast, so dynamic that way. You got Tommy Turk on the outside, who started at Z for us. You had Tommy Shondell back at tight end, who started last year, who's also going to be playing a lot of linebacker for us this year. Jack Capitoso at tight end, who got some experience last year, and he's also going to be playing some DN for us. And then some other, like we talked about earlier, but, Peyton Janicus potentially a quarterback there who's really a good athlete, can make all the throws, and excited to see what he can do. And then at running back, you got a kid like Evan Grant, who is going to be a senior, who's kind of waited his turn and waited behind Luke for a while now. And upcoming Casey Miser, 6'2", 200-pound sophomore. That's a phenomenal baseball player. He's, already been offered by a few big time schools for baseball, but he's a tremendous talent in football as well. Then you look at the defense, you say, okay, well, we lose, 9 starters, which is a lot, but you return a Chase Crutchley, who meant so much to our defense last year as a safety, and made all the calls and communicated so well back there with Creed Hill. And then to watch that group throughout the summer and the mini camps and see that, hey, they have the hunger to try and be as good as that defense was last year. Obviously you got Matt back as a corner / safety, and then some other guys are going to be competing and hopefully finding their way on the field.
Nice. No, that's good. I mean, it's one thing that is pretty interesting. And we've talked to a few coaches here the last couple of weeks is, when we talk about the quarterback position, I believe each of the times that we talked about it, the coaches are like, we got a competition back there. So it's like nothing is given to these guys. And especially for all these guys that are coming back on defense, nothing's given there either. Competition is everything, especially as we're getting into August. Now it's starting to ramp up. So let's get your frame of mind in there. How do you keep these guys once we get started with these summer, we're getting into it now, season start, practice starts? How do you get these guys staying hungry for that, knowing what they have to do and just staying with it until we get to, August 18th when the games start?
Right. And like I mentioned, I can go down the list of some defensive guys that I am so excited to watch these guys play, but at the same time, I want to, hey, you guys are going to earn it too, right? There's a lot of competition and across the board, and that's really what you want. And you want it to be healthy competition, right? You don't want there to be any walls built or things like that where it's not a healthy locker room. So you got to watch that it's, hey, we're all one team at the end of the day. And whether you might think you're the second team kid right now, but all of a sudden the guy in front of you goes down, and now are you ready? And that's huge. And just giving so many examples of, hey, kids that, maybe were a backup, but then they ended up starting because so-and-so goes down or all that. There's so many examples of that. So, but competition is what you want at every position. And that's how these kids are going to become better. And Ed, that from Mount Union, right? Every day would say hey, the games sometimes were easy because I was just fighting to keep my position throughout the week. I didn't, if I didn't practice good, I wasn't going to play on Saturdays. And I think that's kind of any of the good programs out there. I think that's kind of how they feel is, you got to compete throughout the week just to earn your spot. And then you have to go out there on a Friday night, play really well to keep it.
Hey, Coach, and you tell you what, the last few years, you have a successful career so far as a head coach, and there's plenty more to come. And you mentioned, you're right. The prejudices in Mount were insane. Like watching, I was a kicker, so I was trying to do my own thing, but watching you guys just go nuts, and you can tell that. I'll self-plug Mount Union a little bit here. You can tell with all the guys that we talked to at Mount that experience is really permeated through the coaching experiences as well. You practice harder than you play in the games almost, it seems like in some of the game, because sometimes the competition in practice is more than what you're going to see in the game. I also got to say too, between you and me, Coach, it had been really cool seeing one of our teammates try to coach for a Super Bowl win with awesome. Coach Sirianni. That was really, really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. Dick and a lot of those guys doing so many amazing things. So it's cool. And I give a lot of credit to, Coach Karras. Obviously he's the man. And whether you're coaching Pee Wee, high school, college, NFL, I think, everyone understands that you learn so much from Coach Karras. And then, we were at Mount and we were a special time. It was, Nick Sirianni was an assistant coach. Matt Campbell was an assistant coach. Vince Karras was an assistant coach. Jason Candle was an assistant coach. Matt Capone was an assistant coach. And these guys are all in the NFL or in college football. Tom Manning was, someone we played with. So yeah, it's just amazing and special place.
Coach Gibbons with not only the family coaching tree, but the Mount coaching tree as well there. Coach, we want to say thanks again for coming on. We can't wait to see what you guys do, what the Hornets do this year. And, the first game, again, it is going to be the hottest ticket in Medina County. I have to think so. Hudson comes to town on August 18th. I can't wait to see what that game looks like, and I know you guys can't wait to coach in it. So, Coach, thanks again. Best of luck to you, and we'll certainly catch up with you over the course of the season.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys. Thank you for all you do.
Thanks, Coach. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
That is Highland head coach Mike Gibbons joining us. That was his just coming into his 9th year as the head coach of the Hornets. Very, very successful so far. 60 wins against 26 losses.
Wow.
As Noah mentioned earlier, a couple wins away from being the all-time winningest coach over his brother-in-law of all people. And you can't, just not only a tremendous coach, but a really, really good person. And that's all you can hope for there. Going to talk about some of our sponsors here real quick before we get to our next guest. We are sponsored by Ray Felton State Farm Insurance, located at 5603 Darrow Road, Suite 500 in the aforementioned beautiful Hudson, Ohio. Ray provides auto, home, life, and business insurance and risk management. Call Ray at 234-284-5996 for more information, and check out his website, rayfelton.com, to create a personalized quote. RRT Productions delivers affordable, high-quality video services to all customers and clients. Check them out at rrt-productions.com for more information. And GV Art and Design, check out gvartwork.com to find your favorite professional and college team and player-themed shirts and apparel. Use the promo code ONTAP10 at checkout to get 10% off your order. We are, we're going from the Suburban League champions to the former reigning and not so defending LEL Lake Erie League champions, the Cleveland Heights Tigers. And we are joined by offensive coordinator Kahari Hicks. He's joining us today to talk about the Tigers. And last year they were number 4 in Division I, Region 1. They defeated number 13 Lorraine and had one of the best games you'll probably see in postseason, an absolute, as JR would say, slobber knocker against St. Ignatius. Just coming up very, very short, but did not take away from just a tremendous season that Cleveland Heights had. And if Coach is there, let's bring him on. Coach Kahari Hicks joins us on Sports on Tap. Coach, you there?
Yeah, it looks like his mic is off. And
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, we hear you. Coach, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Just trying to get this audio squared away. I don't know what's going on with that.
Hey, no worries. We thank you for joining us. You guys had such a successful year last year. Lake Erie League champions, 10-2, a playoff win, and again one of the best playoff games that if you were there, you probably won't see too many games like that against St. Ignatius. We'll obviously talk about what's going on forward, and then something else that's much bigger than all of this. But let's talk a little bit about last year, Coach. As we like to go backwards a little bit before we go forwards. Talk about last year and kind of how that's building toward this year.
Well, obviously last year didn't end the way that we wanted it to end. Tough loss to St. Ignatius in the postseason, but a lot to build on. We started probably 6 or 7 freshmen and sophomores, and so it really allowed us to get in there and get seasoned. So now when we come back this year, we're bringing back a whole lot of young players that are going to have varsity experience, and I think that's really going to be a big factor for us moving forward, just being able to compete and try and take the next step as a football program.
Well, Coach, thanks for joining us. One of those big steps that you guys are taking as a program is your move to the Greater Cleveland Conference. Just talk about what that move, you played some of the teams last year during the regular season, but just talk about how that move has impacted your program and how you go about going into the 2023 season?
Well, ultimately, the LEL is a very competitive conference.
Mm-hmm.
However, we need to step our game up and be ready to play in all these big-time games. And so going to the GCC, you're playing against teams that really don't have anybody playing two ways. You're playing against teams that ultimately, I think that's a huge thing. When you don't have anybody going both ways, it really steps up your competition level and really forces you to not be able to just work through, teams that are full platoon. I think that's a huge thing where you really have teams that are now the player that you're playing against. All they are doing every day is working on that one particular skill. So if a lineman is playing on the line, literally all they are doing is working on kick stepping every day in practice. And so I think that just talking to some of the guys I've talked to, it makes a huge difference when you're taking 2-a-days into the season and you do the same thing 13, 14 straight weeks. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing for us is just that the top elite teams don't have a lot of players going both ways, and they get really good at what they do. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing in the GCC.
Yeah, and
Coach,
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Rob. After you.
Coach, your offense put up some big numbers last year. You have a lot of athletic players. You had great running back play. You had your wide receivers, your quarterback, all athletic play from all over the place. How do you get the offense the way you want it with so many weapons all over the place and giving the ball? You see it all over in college and in the NFL. It's tough when you have so many different weapons on the offensive side. How do you keep everyone happy by giving them the ball, whether it's the running back, whether it's the wide receivers, or if your quarterback likes to run every once in a while? How do you, it's probably you're going according to what the defense is going to give you, but how do you keep everybody happy there?
I think that one thing that we focus on is a team first mentality.
Absolutely.
So, I'm sorry, I lost you there.
Oh, that's
so
all right.
For us, we really preach team. We tell everybody, and we have this meeting every year when we come in with these guys. We tell them that no one is going to touch the ball as much as they want to. And that's a big thing for us. We explain to them, the only two people who are going to get the ball as much as they want are the quarterback and the center. Everybody else has to buy in to doing their job, and when the ball comes to you, you'll make a play. And it's a very specific point that we make to these kids, and we tell them, I said, everybody's going to eat. We're not going to be that one type of team where you're going to give the ball to one person 40 times a game. We're just not going to do that. And we explain that to the young men, and we tell them, I said, listen, when you guys get the ball, you're going to be able to make plays. And it's set up for success because we run a very specific type of offense. We're a triple option team with a lot of spread principles, but in the triple option, no one player gets the ball all the time. And we're very specific with that. And I think the kids have bought in because last year we had, I think, 60 rushing touchdowns for the season. And that was divided up about six different players.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. And you could tell, when you're on the field, you could tell you love coaching the players too. Coach Stevens does a great job with that too. You pull kids aside and you kind of explain when they do something wrong, but you also encourage them when they make big plays. I think, seeing some of the games from you last year and even in these camps, you can tell you love coaching the players. And like you said, they buy into what you're teaching them.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's just important when we explain to the kids that we really want football to be a means for which a player can change their trajectory in all aspects. And I think that's a passion of ours just through the way that we do things. I think I'm able to pull this thing in now with video. I think I think I can get in here now.
Okay.
See if that works.
Yeah, it's a learning process with the video and everything going on. We get it.
Yeah, I can't get this in here with the video. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh, that's all right.
Sounds pretty clear.
Yeah, that sounded actually really clear.
Yeah, I thought I was able to get it in there with the video, but for whatever reason, I can't get the audio in. I don't know why the audio is not working.
Yeah, it's no problem.
Sorry.
Hey,
But
Coach,
yeah, no, I think ultimately for us, it's just a situation where we want football to be a means with a kid can change the trajectory of their life. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you get a scholarship. It means that you learn life lessons. And we have a young man named Cullen Martin. He's on his way he's at Tufts University right now. He's not even playing football, but he's going to graduate with a degree from Tufts, and he's going to come out of school debt-free. And he's got an invention going. And I think those are the most important things. Yeah, I think those are the most important things where people have to understand that it's just so much bigger than just, wins and losses, where kids can learn life lessons from sports.
Absolutely.
Coach, thank you. Oh, sorry, Rob.
Oh, no, go ahead, Noah.
Coach, thank you again for taking the time and joining us tonight. You and a couple of your players went to the Deshaun Watson 7-on-7 camp and competing with some of the other top teams in Northeast Ohio. Just kind of talk about how awesome it was for you and your players to experience that and be able to meet, Deshaun in person. And I even saw one of your players get a picture with the Browns running back coach, Stump Missile. Just kind of talk about how that whole experience was for you and your players.
So first of all, thank you to Hannah Lee, Romy Graham, and the Cleveland Browns team for inviting us out as a first-class event, run really, really well. It was a phenomenal experience. Getting kids to get down there and compete, and multiple of our players got a chance to meet Deshaun. Really, really generous with his time, was not willing to not take pictures with the kids. He talked to the kids. I think that was a huge thing, was that the kids got to see that he's just one of the guys. And I think that was really important for them to understand, is like, this is a person who's doing really well, but he's not. And I think it's important for them to see the pay it forward type aspect, because, one day you might not be a professional athlete, but you'll be in a position where you could pay it forward. So it was good. We went down there, we competed. One of our running backs, Marquise Davis, got to have a pretty decent conversation with Deshaun and Stump Mitchell. And just getting guys to sit there and be around high-level individuals, because Stump, high-level guy, and just, he spoke to the African American Football Coaches Association at their clinic. So just a really good overall day. Lots of high-level competition. Really, really enjoyed it.
Hey, Coach, we would be remiss if we didn't bring up and talk about the Build the Bridge program that started in 2020. I was on the coaching staff for Brunswick for a little bit of that year, and I know Coach Pinzoni wanted to get involved with that. I think we've been scrimmaging Garfield Heights over the last few years, even before that. But talk about how that program started and kind of how it's blossomed. I mean, you had coaches from not only in state but out of state, out of the country. Really reach out to you guys. Talk about the program and kind of where its roots and where it's gone.
The genesis of Build the Bridge started in 2020 when George Floyd was murdered. And I was just paying attention to a lot of just the banter on social media: Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, Democrat, Republican. And one of my colleagues, a gentleman by the name of Marty Gibbons, had asked me, he said, what can we do to stop this? Because it was getting pretty intense. And I told him, I said, well, first of all, you're not going to solve anything until young people get a chance to know one another. And from that point out, that was the genesis where we said that if we want to fix things, we have to get kids from different communities interacting with one another. And so what ended up happening is we started the Build the Bridge initiative. I put out a tweet, and it had about 10 to 15,000 views. And we got people from all over the state of Ohio, outside the state, just wanting to get young people together. And so the first activity we did was at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Shout out to Jake Ray. And they brought a group of kids down to the Hall of Fame. We had a discussion about race relations. And ultimately, we just try to get the kids to understand the core four. These guys, they like girls, they like video games, they like social media, they like sports. And those things aren't debatable. They like those things. And if you start with the things that they like, then you don't have to worry about the things that because when you talk about Republican versus Democrat and all these other politically charged points, it separates people. But when you bring kids together and you give them food and you let them play games together, they understand they don't have a whole lot of differences. And now with social media, everybody being interconnected, you start to form friendships in communities that you didn't necessarily form. So we've had our Build a Bridge showcase, which, generated probably about 40 or 50 scholarship offers. We've done homeless feeding projects. The Browns have been very generous. Actually, 2 years ago, the Build a Bridge showcase was at First Energy Stadium. It was the first exposure camp in an NFL stadium ever. So it's been powerful. Just last Sunday, we did a social media branding interview boot camp where we brought in 60 kids from all different school districts, and they learned how to interview. And they interview with HR execs, television personalities, media personalities, and then they sat down and they fellowshipped afterwards. So there are a lot of things going on, and I think it's been beneficial. Obviously, we do activities over the summer where teams get together and they do an activity together. Chagrin Falls and Warrensville did a competition. They ate together. Walsh Jesuit and Akron Buchtel, ourselves, and Olmsted Falls. So those are some of the things that are going on with Build the Bridge. We have some huge things planned coming up in the as the next new season kicks in.
Well, yeah, I think it's something special. I mean, that's really important, and I love what you're doing, and I think that's such a great approach to really teach the kids and get them to come together, like you said, because that's really important. That's and it's farther, like you said, it goes farther in life. Lessons, whether it's on the field, off the field, it's really helping in many different ways, and I think it's a great thing. So keep up the great work. That's really something special.
Appreciate it.
Hey, Coach, kind of sticking with this. I mean, did you ever imagine that it would move to where it is now, and then what some of the future things that you're moving towards?
We had no idea. Tiger Laverty told me, he said, Kahari, this is going to get huge. And I didn't know. I just thought about just a way to make an impact. And the team of people that we work with has really bought into the vision. And honestly, when we had the exposure camp at First Energy Stadium, I started crying at the end because I thought about my dad, because my dad was an old school civil rights person. And he spoke to the Kirtland football team, and I just thought about how proud he would have been watching these things come together. And we just saw kids that had nothing. These are white and black kids that just came from some really tough situations, walking away with life-changing scholarships. And I think ultimately, when you're dead and you're in the ground, you want to be remembered as someone that helped people. And that's why I'm very thankful for all the coaches and the people that are involved in Build the Bridge, because they're helping to change young people's lives.
And one thing, Coach, that I just wanted to add to that I find fascinating is the fact that all you hear nowadays is how negative social media is, and it's just a cesspool, people call that. But you're actually utilizing social media as a tool. Just talk about that a little bit more, and what that means to your program, and how you embrace that for not only this, but dealing with your players and dealing with the students, and kind of embracing that challenge that, it could be a bad place for a lot of these young individuals, but you turn it into a good thing.
First of all, I think that's a great point that you guys bring up about social media. And we're very particular with our players about it. We follow our players, and we run it like a college program, where at Heights, you better be following one of your coaches on social media, because we like to monitor. And if we see things we don't like, we address it, but because we try to explain to them, it's better that we address it than you end up in HR. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the worst place you want to end up in, is in the HR office, because you said some things, or tweeted some things, or posted some things that were, objectionable at best. And so we try to teach the kids that social media nowadays can actually be very powerful if you know how to use it in the right way, if you know how to create positive content. And you're just not out there just trying to be seen, because we're very particular with our kids. Stop posting things just so someone can like a video. Mm-hmm. I said, do something that's going to bring positivity to your family, to your high school, to your community. And so, myself and the head coach, we're pretty active on social media because we know that the content that we put out there, it's not just for Heights players, it's for everybody, especially some of the recruiting videos that I do. I just try to get people to understand how difficult this process is. But we're pretty particular. We tell the kids, if you understand how to use social media right, it actually serves as your resume, because these jobs, they're going to look at your social media and they're going to scrutinize that more than they scrutinize your resume. And that's a message we try to preach to our kids every day.
Yeah, Coach Stevens is like you said, he's active on social media and a lot of positive. I think he could be a positive role model, and is for a lot of kids out there, because on Twitter and his social media, a lot of great advice, I think, for kids that if they read that, it really probably can lead them in a positive direction.
No, I think that Mac is very much about speaking life into people. And when you're speaking life into people, those things really work themselves out, because I feel like when you're saying the right things and you're putting the right message out there, you have a platform to attract young people and call out their destiny. And I think that's very, very important to kind of help young people grow into who they need to become.
Absolutely.
So, sorry, go ahead, Coach.
No, I think when people are able to look at it from that perspective and listen to the message and just look at what he's saying, I think that there are a lot of positive things that come out of that, and it can give people an opportunity to really reflect on how they're living their life, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
And I think I finally figured out how to get in here. I'm just it was bugging me. I think I'm actually able to get in now.
Let's give it a whirl, Coach.
You got this Wizard of Oz thing going on right now. It's kind of
there it is. Yes, I made it in. Okay.
Yeah, it looks like. Oh, did we lose Noah? I don't know what happened to Noah. He must have gotten booted.
Yeah, that'll happen from time to time.
Oh,
there it is.
There it is.
All right.
All right.
In the flesh or in the video, but nonetheless, we can see him.
Nice.
There we go.
Now, when you talk, I'm going to put up your graphic, and everybody's going to be able to see you.
Coach, we talked about a lot about the positive messaging and really what you guys are working on outside of the football field and really with life. But we also, as you mentioned earlier, you got a tough conference. You're coming into a very tough conference. You got a tough non-conference schedule. We talked to the head coach of your opposing of your week one opponent earlier this year, in our summer, and I can tell you that they are probably just as pumped to face you guys as you are them. From the offensive side, being that you're the OC, who are some of the players that we are that we should be looking out for now? You guys are now that you guys are coming into our conference. You're going to be seeing, we can't wait to see what else you guys can bring to the table. What are some of the players that are going to be making an impact this year?
Well, we bring back so many. So we have, obviously starting with, we have a couple of really big time recruits in Marquise Davis, who's a 6'1", 205-pound running back. Probably got about 26 or 27 Power 5 offers. Then we have a gentleman named Brandon Caesar, who's a defensive end. He's 6'5", 265, has about 31 Power 5 offers. Then our offensive line is, I'm really proud of that group. It's a pretty big group, and we have I think we're probably about 6'4", 6'3", 280, 300, 300, 300 across the board. Just really hardworking guys. Rodney Harris, he'll be the anchor, will be the only senior on the offensive line. Everybody else will be back next year. Then we have a gentleman like Jason Owens that's going to lead the offensive line at center spot. We have a receiver named Amir Atkins. He's class of 25. Amir has multiple Division I offers. And we have a gentleman by the name of Jeff Ward. He's 6'3", has an SEC offer. And then we have a gentleman by the name of John Gordon, who plays running back. John is an electric playmaker. So I'm really proud, because after this year, we'll only graduate 2 kids off the offense. I think about 9 will come back on defense. We have a corner by the name of Henry Perriman. Henry's got 4 or 5 Power 5 offers.
And then Ethan Golden, who will be one of our seniors, got about 6 or 7 offers. Ethan's done a phenomenal job. He's Emmett Golden's son. And then we have Albert and Mackay, who are going to be pretty strong for us at linebacker. So it's a motley crew of kids. Actually, most of them class of 25 and 26. So I think we'll only graduate 4 or 5 kids this year. We're pretty young.
What are you feeding your kids there? I mean, the whole offensive line over 300, and most of the guys are over 6 foot easy. I mean, is it something in the water there in the Cleveland Heights area over there? I mean, is that where most kids need to go? Or?
They're going to Tasty Burger right across the street from the field, man. That's some good stuff.
I'll tell you what, Mac is very particular in how our kids lift. And kids that lift the right way, Mac has this shirt, and hopefully you can see it, says no soft. It says no soft.
I like that.
Yep. It's one of the models of our program is that, you got to come in here and you've got to be tough. And kids that have come in and they've done the right things in the weight room, their bodies transform and they're able to take the physical beating that football requires. And so I think our linemen, they do good. But my dad was a coach on staff. Hold on a second.
Oh, now you muted it.
I think you put us on hold.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, that's
so, our offensive line and our defensive line, they call themselves one army. And they do a lot of things together. My mom, when they pass their lineman test, it's kind of like Ohio State takes the black stripe off the freshman's helmet. When you pass your line test, my mom bakes cookies and brownies for you.
Nice.
And then when it gets time to later in the season, my mom, now that my dad's passed away, but I get on the grill and we cook for the guys. So I think that's the biggest thing we get our guys to understand. You're going to eat well, but you're going to lift and you're going to do things the way that we ask for them to be done. So, we're big. I mean, we're very fortunate. And our young guys are pretty big too. It's just, it comes in spurts. When we first went to the triple option, our offensive line was probably about 5'9", 200. But, this past year we were, pretty huge up front in all spots.
Coach, I wanted to ask about that too. Transitioning to the triple option is no small task. We went to the Veer in Brunswick for a few years in the mid 2010, 2010s, and it obviously took some time for it to kind of gel a little bit. What, if you don't mind me asking, what brought on the move to the triple option? And you guys have obviously run it very successful, but what brought that on? What brought that change?
Oh man, this is a good story. You'll laugh about this one. You all know how big Mac is, right?
Oh yeah.
You all see Mac? Yeah, he's like 6'3", 260.
Yeah. Yep.
Me and him were about to go to blows after a game because we were not productive offensively at all. That year, we averaged about 8 points a game, and we infamously beat Maple Heights 2-0 on a safety. And in the off season, we had to make some adjustments to figure out how to score better. And it was Mac's suggestion. He said, "What do you think about the triple option?" I said, "It actually makes sense because at Heights we just not traditionally had a classic drop back guy every single year, but we had guys that are athletic and they're good decision makers. And so the first year we went to the triple option, we ran for 3,000 yards. The second year we went 9-1. Since going to the triple option, we won the LEL four straight times. And each year we've gotten better at it. Like I said, this year we ran for close to 5,000 yards on the season, had, I think, total 63 rushing touchdowns. But I think it teaches these guys commitment and teamwork, because in some schemes, one person's going to get the ball 40 times, and we don't believe in that. And then I think ultimately it really has allowed our kids to really thrive. And one thing I'm really proud of is Darion Fair, who was our quarterback last year. He broke all of Travis Kelce's school records for total touchdowns. And Darion was the first African-American quarterback to win Division I Northeast Ohio Player of the Year. And Darion had 47 touchdowns last year, and we had running clock in 9 games.
Jeez.
And so Darion's going to Tiffin. He's on a full scholarship. And we just feel like, and then in the playoff game, we ran for 500 yards against Ignatius. And that doesn't happen against Chuck Kyle coach teams very often, but it's a testament to our kids, how hard they work, how much they bought in. And, our coaching staff, Coach Smith, Coach Stevenson, Coach Westrich, all the guys on the offensive side of the ball who really pour into our kids. I love the offense. We'll be, and then we get in the gun as well because we've got so many good receivers this year. So Matt calls it the spread triple flex. I don't even know what that means. We just feel like it gets a lot of kids the ball, and it gives kids an opportunity to be successful and give them a good experience. That's one thing I learned from Tiger Laverty. You just have to give kids a good experience.
Yeah, Coach. Sorry, Josh.
Go ahead, Noah. You're good.
Coach, obviously losing a quarterback like Darion Fair, who had a tremendous senior season for you guys, but you bring in, is it Amar? Is that right? Amar? Yeah, okay. But you bring in Amar Lakes, who there's not too many lefty quarterbacks in Northeast Ohio. Just kind of talk about what you have seen from him so far in camp and what he's going to bring to your guys' offense this year.
Amar, for one thing I'll say with Amar, number one, he's a great kid. Comes from a great family. I've known Amar since he's been about 3 years old. We're both Muslims, so in the prayer group, he would mess with people in the prayer group. I said, "Man, move, sit down." So now it's like, it's from a 3 to 4 year old to a 17-year-old kid about to be a senior. The first thing I'll tell you about him, he has a cannon. We were in the 7-on-7, and we threw an out route, and we were on the left hash. He threw an out route from the left hash to the right sideline, which is about a 47-yard throw, and it was on a laser. And so while he's not the runner Darion is, he has a gun. And he runs well. I mean, when you're stepping in for Darion Fair, no one's Darion. But what Amar brings to the table, he has a cannon, and the ball gets there, and it gets there with velocity. And the receivers like that because the ball gets to them, and it gets to them quick so they can make plays. I think that's the biggest thing about him is just he's got a big time gun. I'll shoot some videos at practice tomorrow, and if you guys will just send me your Twitters, I'll tag you guys on Twitter so you can kind of see for yourself. He's got a gun, and he's got a contagious smile too.
Absolutely, we'd share that.
Hey, Coach, we'll get you out on this because we appreciate your time. I know you're very busy getting that busy time of the year, but I'm just curious. What out of the many things that there could be, what's one of the main things that you're looking forward to this 2023 season as we start rolling into full go practice?
A great question. We've never been this fast in my life. I'm pretty hard on our kids, but when I watched a couple of our guys, run past a couple of high-level guys in these 7-on-7s, it confirmed what I already knew. We're really fast. I've never seen us this fast at the skill. This is probably the best we've been ever at our skill positions, where we have scholarship players at every skill position. I think that ultimately every skill position guy might end up getting a scholarship in this group. And just watching them run and how fast they move on both sides of the ball, I've just never seen it. And I think that's the part I'm most excited about, is just seeing all this speed on the field and how it operates within our triple option, and just seeing this gigantic offensive line. It's huge. So I think those are some of the things and I'm obviously looking forward to seeing Brandon Caesar. He's just as a defensive end, there are not many kids nationally that can do what he can do. So definitely those are some of the things that I'm looking forward to this season with these young men.
I'd say it's got to make you smile on offense. You got weapons all over the place. You got a big old line. You're probably smiling ear to ear because you can probably mix and match all kinds of different plays. Your brain's gonna go crazy thinking of some new plays and some different ideas for the offense.
We definitely spend a lot of time in the coaches' meetings looking at different ways to get all these different players the ball. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that we've told the guys, you're going to get the ball, just not as much as you want. But when you get it, good things will happen. And I think that's the part where, shout out to our kids, they're not selfish.
Coach, we again, as Josh mentioned, thank you for the time. We're really looking forward to seeing Cleveland Heights in the Greater Cleveland Conference. Three of the four of us are from Brunswick, and we have played you guys intermittently over the years. In fact, right after Rob and Josh graduated, I was a junior, and we played you guys for the first time. Probably one of the first times in Cleveland Heights. The year after they came to our house, and Barry Cofield absolutely laid
Oh
me out.
wow!
Oh yeah, yeah.
That was okay. I was like a young coach now. You talk about the year that we beat you guys like in the last couple seconds of the game.
That might have been 2004, I think.
That was the year we won in the last second of the game. The year before that, you guys beat us pretty good. I remember that.
We had so the Cofield was a fullback our junior year, and you guys kept running him up the middle, and we couldn't stop it. The year after that, he was a tight end and defense, and he obviously went to Northwestern and won a Super Bowl with the Giants and all that. It was a screen pass. I was the free safety at the time, and 1 minute I was running toward a play. The next minute I look up and he's just staring at me and just shakes his head and walks away. I'm like, oh boy, okay. Dude just lit me the heck up on a screenplay.
I remember those games now.
Yeah, those are some good games. I think one of the other years, I think it was 04. I think no less than 3 or 4 times. It was like 3rd and 30. You guys ran a draw play and either got a first down or scored touchdowns. I did not understand it. I'm like, it's 3rd and 30. They're running a draw touchdown.
That game, Jason Kelsey turned your quarterback's helmet around on his head.
Oh man, that would have been. I think that was Anthony.
That was that game. I remember that game. He got a 15-yard penalty for that one. The guy's helmet was like almost down on his head on that. Gosh, those are big time men. I remember those.
I'll tell you what, I'd love to be at your alumni game there with the Kelseys and I mean all these great players that played at Cleveland Heights. I bet you that would be something to see there.
That's the thing. They're great guys. They come back around. Travis came. And he broke the team down.
Wow.
And Jason came by my house. I gave him some of his film, and my daughter's coming out. She's acting all shy. He's like, if you don't come get in this picture with me. And I think that's the biggest thing. They're like, the Heights guys, they're such good guys. They understand the importance of community.
Yeah.
So that they come back, they give back. You know, we've tagged Jason and Travis on social media multiple times. They're a huge reason why we have all these different jersey combinations. So you know they're very generous with their time, and they love the Heights. It's a great community to live in.
That's pretty cool.
Well, Coach, when you get on their podcast eventually, just remember that this is the first podcast, the SOT. So just remember us when you get on that when you start talking.
Listen, I'm a small man in this equation, man. Trust me. I always tell people that I'm a low man on the totem pole.
and just just the way that you're talking about the speed of your offense and the triple option, just when you play Brunswick week 4, just take it easy on our Blue Devils, okay?
Yeah, Coach Penzoni, those guys, they're going to be really good this year. There's no one we can take it easy on. We just have to play ball this year. I think I'm excited, but ultimately, every team that we play, they're going to be gunning for Heights. Mm-hmm. We understand that, and that's just part of the equation. But I think also just being, in the GCC, it'll bring the best out of every team there. And just like we told all that, every game in the LEL was highly competitive. Every game in the GCC is going to be highly competitive. And ultimately, I think the difference is in the LEL, you only got a chance to see one of those teams in the postseason. But now when you have Strongsville, Brunswick, Medina, Heights, Euclid, I mean, you have to be on your cues because there is a high probability you'll see them again in the postseason. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I think that's going to be a bigger challenge as well. Is that in the LEL, we knew that we weren't going to see by in the postseason because Lorraine was the only, and we actually ended up playing Lorraine in the postseason. But in the GCC, you'll have a high probability of playing somebody twice in one season. And I always feel like the team that wins the first time, I think is actually at the disadvantage unless you just pummel somebody and you're just clearly better. So we're just definitely looking to compete against those guys.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun year.
Coach, sorry, Rob.
Oh, no, go ahead.
And talking actually, Coach, about the GCC, if there was like one team talking about, because every week in the Greater Cleveland Conference, it's going to be competitive throughout the 6 weeks. If there's one team in the Greater Cleveland Conference, who are you most excited for?
No, to be honest with you, we're excited to play all of them because we've actually played every team in the GCC except for Solon. And I know Coach Wiz, he does a great job with his kids. So I think for us right now, the focus is on beating Berea mid-part. And I can say that with 100% certainty. we were at a camp and the kid said, "Yeah, we can't wait to play you guys." I said, "Well, who do you play for?" He said his team. I said, "Dude, we're worried about Berea." And you know, and people say it's cliche-ish, but I mean, honestly, our kids are not thinking about. We're not thinking about Medina, Mentor, Brunswick, Strongsville, Solon, Euclid, Shaker. We're not thinking about any of those teams right now. We're focusing on Berea because they're going to have a big-time defensive line. They have 3 Power 5 guys on their D line, and that's our focus right now is being able to beat that football team because they're well coached and they'll do a good job. And then when we get, I think, heck, I don't even know who our first GCC opponent is. I think it's Brunswick.
Yeah, it's actually Brunswick.
You're coming to town.
Yeah, so I guess that's my whole thing is that I have respect for all the coaches in the league. I don't know Coach Laird very well, but I know Matt and I text occasionally. Mark and I, we talk because he's in the Build the Bridge initiative. Lou and I talked at the Deshaun Watson thing. I know Coach Nicholson and Coach Andrews. So I have tremendous amount of respect for all those guys and their programs. And ultimately, and we've said this, D1 Region 1, it's a bloodbath. And ultimately, it was rated the 4th toughest playoff bracket in the country. So we just don't have time to focus on any of them until that week comes. Yeah. And that's just completely honest. That when we get to Brunswick, it'll be Brunswick, and it'll be Mentor, Medina, and so forth, because all the teams are well coached. They're disciplined football teams, and every game is going to be a really difficult football game. Just from what I know, a lot of these teams, they bring a lot of guys back. Everybody brings their quarterback back. Yeah. And so I think those are huge things. Brunswick quarterback was a junior. I think he was a sophomore or junior last year. Yep. Snow's back. Stoddard's back. King is back from Euclid. Abdullah is back from Shaker. I think Solon and Solon are the only ones that bring in new quarterbacks. So, just really excited. All those teams. It'll be fun.
Yeah, it's easy to look past an opponent and then maybe have a mishap, and you don't want to do that. We all know how that goes.
And Coach, with that, make sure we're looking forward to seeing the first game. So we as we mentioned earlier, we talked to Coach Hunick from Berea Mid Park. He's they're real excited to play you guys. It's gonna and I can tell you for a fact it's the same exact thing. They're not they don't care about anybody else in their schedule except for Heights, and I know it's the same thing with you and them. So certainly looking forward to seeing that matchup Friday night at George Finney Stadium in Berea, Baldwin Wallace. Your first home game will be against Paramus Catholic from New Jersey, and then a tough tilt against the defending Suburban League National Division champions in Hudson before you get to conference play. So, Coach, thanks again for the time. We appreciate you talking about the team, the Build the Bridge program, and really everything else. We look forward to talking with you more, you and Coach Mack over the course of your time in the GCC. We've had a lot of exposure to Coach Babcock from the hockey team because he's part of the hockey group, the hockey league that we cover, and we're certainly glad to get you guys from the football side too. So, Coach, best of luck, and hopefully we'll catch up with you, Coach Mack, soon.
Gentlemen, I appreciate you having us on. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thanks. All right, take care.
You too.
That is Cleveland Heights offensive coordinator Kahari Hicks. They are. The Cleveland Heights Tigers, newbies to the Greater Cleveland Conference, true newbies to the conference as, Shaker Heights rejoined the conference after taking a few years off and going back to the LEL. Very tough schedule, in which we've talked about at length with a lot of these Division I, Region I coaches. You can afford to have a tougher schedule because most likely you'll make the playoffs. But Coach Hicks, I think, put it perfectly. They have. It is a step up in class when you're going to a conference that has mostly nothing but Division I schools, and even the Division II schools are Solon and Shaker Heights, no slouches, former Division I schools. So they're really subscribing to the iron sharpening iron mentality there, especially when you're scheduling Berea Mid Park in Hudson in your non-conference. So looking forward to talking with them more. Rob, who do we have on tap? Who do we have, pun intended, on tap for our for next week's episode?
Well, right now we have Coach Brediger from North Olmsted. He's on at 7:30, and then we're working on the 8 p.m. There's a few guys we're waiting to hear back from, so we'll get one scheduled for next week, and then we'll start scheduling for the 31st. But right now, Coach Brediger from North Olmsted. We'll come on and talk a little Great Lakes Conference. We'll get the Great Lakes on and go that route there, and we'll try to schedule some others too. Again, in the GCC, we're going to try to get the GGC, the GLC, the SWC, kind of all these guys, on a rotation, so we can speak to, a fair amount of coaches from each of the conferences and up until the season starts. And then once the season starts, hopefully we get some players and maybe throw in some coaches. But looking forward to a pretty exciting year here.
Yeah, we're about one month away from the start of the high school football season, which is insane to think about. That just goes to show how fast summer goes already, and really with the additional playoff week pushing everything up a week, it really, everything starts out sooner than you realize. And as Rob mentioned, we will we're kind of we're doing things a little bit different here. We're not having a traditional conference preview as we have in the past. We want to bring the coaches. We want to bring the people who will have a definite say in those conferences, to talk about their teams, to talk about their conferences, and the like. So as Rob mentioned, Coach Brediger from North Olmsted in the Great Lakes Conference next week. And stay tuned. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at SOT Podcast. Check out our website, sportsontap.podcast.com, to continue to find out information about who's coming on and when they're coming on. Make sure you also check us out on Facebook at Sports on Tap and on Threads at SOT_podcast.
Woo. And I'm still learning about that.
Of course, you are watching this live on our YouTube channel, Sports on Tap. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications of all future broadcasts. Last and certainly not least, for our sponsors, Ray Felton State Farm Insurance. That's 234-284-5996, and also rayfelton.com. RRT Productions. Check them out at rrt-productions.com. And GV Art and Design. Check out gvartwork.com. Use the promo code ONTAP10 at checkout to get 10% off your order. For Technical Director Rob Troutman, EVP of Social Media Content and Graphic Design Intern Josh Jeffy, Dr. Hoops himself, Noah Jacobson, and our cohort colleague compadre Sean Duffy on assignment, my name is Ed Dick, and we will see you on the other side.